Good Lion has teamed up with a small family business to bring you a topical that's been proven to detoxify the brain of heavy metals, poisons, and other toxins, all of which when detoxed make way for optimal brain function. ARII is an herbal formulation for anyone needing to detox, and specifically for anyone with autism. ARII has not only been freeing those with autism, but also those taking care of loved ones with it. Caretakers can breathe again, and autistic behaviors dissipate. This formulation is an herbal blend which is produced in small batches, containing only the cleanest and most vibrant ingredients. Because the individual ingredients are uniquely extracted, gently and naturally by the sun, they can be absorbed directly into the bloodstream within seconds, via the soles of the feet or the navel. This method avoids the digestive tract and has proven more effective than pills or capsules. This is a two-step program requiring a 12-day detox first, which helps eliminate any heavy metals and toxins accumulated in the brain. This is then followed by autism support and is recommended to use for as long as results are desired. The formulation contains no chemicals, CO2, or solvents, ensuring that it's pure and natural. Are you treating with ARII?
Welcome to the Love in Action show with me, Alpa Soni. I hope you're all well. And today I am delighted to have a very special individual, Dr. Bradley Campbell, who is known as the Robin Hood of medical healthcare and has a fantastic Instagram page, who I am a huge fan of, simply because he makes me laugh a lot. He heals, in my opinion, through laughter, and laughter certainly is the best medicine. So, Dr. Campbell, welcome to my show. It's so nice, finally, a year on.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm glad we finally found a time to make this work, and super excited to get to talk to you a little more.
Yeah, I know. And, you know, you've got a huge following on Instagram, and there's so many times I end up, you know, scrolling through and I'm in sort of a somber mood, but you have a lot of good information on there. And I see that you channel it through humor and actually factual information. So I'd like to start really today by my audience knowing a little bit about yourself. If you haven't heard of him, you must go, and I'll have all the details on my links below.
Thanks. Yeah, so my name is Dr. Bradley Campbell. I run an integrated holistic clinic just north of Chicago, Illinois in the United States. And we have 4 different practitioners there and 4 staff. And we do chiropractic and naturopathic medicine, functional medicine, acupuncture, hypnosis, massage, and just most of nutritional counseling, a lot of the holistic modalities. And I personally am working towards finishing 10 degrees in natural healthcare. So that's,
wow,
again, chiropractic, naturopathic, acupuncture, internal medicine, neurology, homeopathy, nutrition, just kind of the gamut of stuff. So we kind of give people Western and Eastern, both conventional and alternative holistic medicine in one center. So they kind of can see what's going on with their health, get to the root cause, and then figure out how they really want to go about getting better.
So you studied naturopathic after sort of
I went
allopathic medicine, or you've just the other way around?
The other way. So I never went to the conventional allopathic schools. In the United States, there's basically like 4 types of primary care doctors, depending on which of the 50 states you're in. But there's chiropractors are considered primary care physicians, and they can actually prescribe medicine in one state. There's also naturopathic doctors, NDs, who in 20 states can prescribe meds, but in 30 states don't mean anything. But they're both 4-year full schools with boards and internships and rotations and all that kind of stuff. And then there's medical school and for MDs, and then DO, doctors of osteopathy, who are, the DOs are a little bit more of the natural base. But I went to the chiropractic and naturopathic school west of Chicago, and then when I was about done, I started the acupuncture and Chinese herbal school. And then I did 5 little side degree specializations while I was doing those programs as well.
Wow, there's a lot of credentials behind your name. And in the last 2 years, given the camaraderie that we've been going through, How has your personal journey been, and especially with the work that you share with us?
I mean, it's been very healing, and I think the work that I've shared is kind of my own healing journey as well. So a lot of like the things that were bothering me about the state of the world, I would channel that stress, or whatever you would call it, irritation, frustration, sadness, worries, into humor-based reels or TikToks or memes for people to kind of like lighten the mood, and
Yes.
also do some of my own research into what was really going on, what was the data truly showing us, and trying to educate people in a more true informed consent way. What are the pros and the cons of the injections? What are the pros and cons of different medications and supplements, and what really makes the most sense to get healthier? And when and if you do get sick, what are your best options moving forward? Because like I really was just trying to care for my patients, and they were like, this is great, everybody just wants us to do this or not do that, and there's nothing in the middle. So I was trying to be that middle voice of reason, because the real reason I started speaking out every day was because I was seeing people in the conventional system pumping out a lot of fear towards kids and towards young adults that just didn't need to be scared and didn't need to have this guilt and ownership of spreading a germ they didn't even know they had. And then I also saw on the opposite side a lot of fear-based medicine saying that the injections and all of the conventional treatments were going to kill people, and the hospitals were killing people, and there was like a lack of gratitude for medicine. And I just felt like both sides were pumping out all this fear. And to me, the opposite of fear is usually love and laughter. So I was like, how do I just do that more? It's probably just providing a calm, safe space where people can hear both sides in like a calm, rational way, to hear the true pros and cons of what's going on, what the research is really saying, not what the biased research is saying, and then give that in both like logical video form and some like funny meme reel form. Because unfortunately, that's kind of what gets shown the most on social media these days, is either controversial stuff or funny stuff. So I was like, well, I'll just take advantage of the humor side of the social media world.
Yeah, it was very clever. That's what actually wanted me to approach you and say, hey, we need a bit of this, because I think in the first year, the trajectory was very sort of doom and gloom, and the panic and the warriors that were fighting out there were kind of very fierce and relentless and bringing out all the factual information. And in that, sorry, Mom, yeah. I told you not to call me while I'm on a show. Sorry about that. I thought I had it off. Happens all the time on my show. It's very it's like having coffee with a friend. Sorry about that. Yeah, in the beginning, it was very much, getting the information out there, all of us being gung-ho. And I have to say myself personally, it burnt me out mentally. And, I'm starting to come back and do podcasts, and I want to do things like this where I speak to people like yourself that actually influence people positively. And all due respect to all the sort of warriors out there who are doing their bit, they will appeal to certain people. Everyone plays their part. But humor for me is so important, and I think you can think your way to sort of happiness and think your way to health. And if you have the right support externally as well, and you know what you're doing, it really helps. My sort of a health awakening started in 2011 when I worked with naturopaths in helping a friend run a colonic what's it called, a colonic therapy center in Notting Hill. And I was just helping him out there, and ended up helping him out for a year because I really enjoyed working there. And I learned so much about my health. And this was the first time that, I realized I was doing so many things wrong. And through that journey, working with alternative medicine, I realized the importance of your gut, how that affects everything. Gut is your second brain, how the vagus nerve talks to your brain, and how everything is connected, and how everything I was doing was wrong. And so my quest to find out what was wrong with, I don't want to use that word, what was wrong, but my healing journey started then. And it was discovered that I had fibromyalgia, or what the medical fraternity diagnosed me with. I was sent from pillar to post, 2015 after that. And I was sent from pillar to post, but I never have resorted to the allopathic medicine. It's always been herbal and alternative. So like all the things, the modalities, the healing modalities that you offer in your clinic, homeopathy, acupuncture, cupping. It's so important, and people are becoming more and more aware. Unfortunately, though, in these times that we have gone through, there is still a massive divide, and of course, people's dependency on the medical fraternity. So it's interesting to see now, like through your humor, it really does help an individual to, like you said, through meme culture, because so many people are like addicted to it, and through laughing your way and thinking your way to good health. And I mean, I'm sure you sort of apply this in your clinic, but tell me, you have your beautiful dog that you have another Instagram page on. And what, in your view, do animals have an impact on your mental health and physical health?
Oh, it's massive. I mean, there's research showing that animals work as effective or are more effective than an antidepressant medication. So one is because they're around you, because they give you a schedule of getting up in the morning, going for a walk, or letting them outside, it helps regulates people's nervous systems, because one of the best things you can do is actually get light on not your skin, but your eyeballs in the morning. So like not wearing sunglasses, but going out for the morning sunrise, or just that first morning light, is probably the best thing you could possibly do as far as like a schedule for your health. And so I think part of it is just dogs let you get outside. Cats are great too, but you don't really walk your cat for most people. But I do have friends who walk their cats. But I think walking your dog is really helpful, just to get your schedule of like, okay, it's about bedtime, it's eating time, they eat, I should probably eat. So they really just, when people are very mentally down, one of the first things to go with mental illness is a lack of eating schedule or sleeping schedule. So like that by in of itself is extremely helpful. Like farmers too, if they have roosters crowing in the morning, it wakes them up and they're up and they're going. So I think that is critical for our bodies. So many people will have they'll stay out really late on the weekends, and that can be fun. I don't want to like, denigrate or hurt or say anything bad about anybody's like lifestyle, because partying and dancing and all the things, that joy is very great, and community is great, and having a good time is great. But your brain tends to like to get sleep that's fairly regular on an average night basis. So that's one big reason. The other thing is that they found even dog saliva has different sort of probiotic bacteria that also works as an antidepressant.
Wow.
So I think it's like they help structure, they help because of their love, they help because of their saliva, and their gut microbiome, the way it impacts your gut microbiome. I think there's just so many reasons, but more people are lonely and missing physical touch, and dogs give that in like truckloads. There's just so much love and physical touch with a dog, and people are really missing either exercise, tactile, sensory input, or just touch from any sort of being. So it's not a human, but it's the next best thing, and sometimes even better, because it is that endless stream of unconditional love.
Unconditional, and I vouch for that. I have my little Kenzo, who you just saw a little while ago. Although I can't say he gives me unconditional love. He's quite temperamental. He has the hump with me. He thinks he's a human, but he's a little character. But dogs, for me, so when I've had my health challenges, I think pertinent to what you were saying, that a schedule and a routine is very important, especially if you're suffering some kind of mental health issue, any kind of health conditions, and that you have somebody else you're looking after, and you're getting out there in the sunlight. So having a schedule is very, very important. So he has to eat between such and such times, not militant about it, but within those hours. And I feed him, I cook for him every single day, because I don't give him the kibble, because it's all processed and heat treated. And so I do a lot of cook him food. He didn't do very well with raw food. But in that engagement and in that commitment to pets, there's something that happens for us as well. So with fibromyalgia, as you probably know, you go through sort of flares, the fatigue is there, and sometimes cannot even get out of bed. And so it can be quite arduous on many fronts, but having a pet really, really does help. So tell us, what is your schedule like? I mean, are you very committed to, having your schedule, doing all the wonderful things that you're doing?
Yeah, I think my body commits me to a schedule, whether I like it or not. I tend to wake up at the same time every morning, which is usually around 5 a.m., no matter
Oh, you're a
what day of the week it
5
is,
a.m.er.
or even if I used to be a 4:30 a.m.er, but even if I stay out really late, my body will still wake me up at the same time, which is actually apparently the best thing to do. If you do stay out later than your normal bedtime, it's ideal to wake up still at the same time because that first morning light is most important for your nervous system. And then you'll be tired, so maybe take a little nap or maybe you go to bed earlier the night after. But ideally, if you do have a late night, the best thing to do is wake up at the same time and then make up for that lack of sleep later on in the day. Just interesting, just the way your circadian rhythms go. Huberman Lab podcast has a whole podcast talking about circadian rhythms. But I think for me, my schedule is wake up at 5. I get my dog. I actually just adopted a second dog yesterday, a Great Pyrenees 3-year-old named Shiloh. So this morning was take both dogs to the beach for sunrise. So I basically either like swim or ground my feet on the earth, like without shoes, without socks.
Right.
Even in the cold, it's like kind of people do cold plunges. I just do, strong feet mornings to ground physically into the earth, get the sunrise on my eyes, meditate or do some qigong or just take a nice walk. They found any type of physical forward movement or ambulation, like whether it's walking, running, biking, or swimming even, any type of that forward movement where your eyes are looking around is the best way to really relax your nervous system. So more so even than meditating, like a walking meditation is in some ways better than a seated meditation for really calming yourself down, because even if it's like you don't even really have to be good at it for it to work. The thing about meditation is you kind of have to be in it, you have to be intentional, you have to be present, you have to be doing, like you have to be in the right headspace for it to work. But if you just go for a walk and look up and to the sides or look around you, even if you're not in the right headspace or you're actually upset, you will calm down no matter what.
Yeah,
so
I agree with that.
So it's like just keep walking, get into nature, and it will relax you whether you like it or not. So it's like the easiest version of meditation for people who are brand new to it. It's just a walking meditation with music or with breath. And so that's what I do in the mornings. And I was just always drawn towards that. So I've been doing that for about 5 years. And then I have breakfast. Sometimes I'll do a little crossword puzzle, do a little social media creation and posts, and then go to work about 7 a.m. And then I work from 7 to 7, come home, eat dinner, and go to bed.
Wow.
So that's usually my day. I do take an hour break at lunch where I eat. We have a little staff meeting, take a short little nap, and then I do another about 6 hours of patient care. And then I do that. I was doing that 5-6 days a week. Now I do it 4 days a week. And then I have 3 days a week on the weekends to travel, teach, take seminars, or spend time with family or friends.
Wow. Gosh, there's a lot of commitment there. And I like what you said about the walking meditation, because I found that I with conventional opinions about meditation, you're sitting there with your eyes closed and you're not thinking about anything. And you've got your hands in the Buddha pose. But one thing I love when I take Kenzo for a walk in the morning, you're right, looking up, because somebody came up to me and told me off, which is, I don't know who that person was, but once I was listening to music, trying to look at stuff on my phone while I'm walking with Kenzo, and I wasn't very present. I wasn't present with my dog and I wasn't very present with myself. And I really thanked that individual who kind of just snapped at me. I mean, I felt initially like I just got told, but it was for my greater good, because after that, I don't take my phone when I walk in the park, and or if I'm listening to something, or if I'm listening to some sort of healing music, I keep my phone in my pocket. It's just the radiation. And I noticed such a huge difference with Kenzo as well, because he can feel my presence. And also I had a habit of looking down, and I noticed my mom was doing that all the time. And as soon as I made that change, it's a massive difference. So these kind of nuggets of wisdom are so helpful for people, because you're going out there with so much information at the moment on the internet. We are in an information war, psychological war, and a spiritual war at the moment. And there's a lot of confusion out there. Where do I start? And what do I do? And how do I even start my healing journey? And I definitely think, I find it very helpful with these sort of nuggets of wisdom that we can impart and share. And that has a good impact for sure. Definitely.
Totally.
Yeah. So in your practice, tell us, this is a question I had for you earlier on, is with all this wonderful work that you're doing, with all the different modalities, what's your greatest success story in healing a patient? And I'm sure you have many.
Yeah, there are so many. I mean, there's like dissolved gallstones, there's cysts or tumors that just disappeared, there's families that, you know, got back together, or parents who stopped abusing, there's, you know, drug abusers who stopped using drugs. There are honestly, like, it's happening on a daily basis. It's so hard to pick, but perhaps one of my, I mean, the one closest to my heart is probably my mother's own healing, because she also was dealing with fibromyalgia, Lyme disease. She had like a desert virus from out west. She had a whole bunch of, so she had sarcoidosis in her lungs. She had lupus. She had like a whole bunch of the autoimmune spectrum issues and gallbladder issues, and her appendix got taken out at one point, but diverticulitis. So she had like the typical thing where you come and you have like the whole laundry list, and you have the whole binder of like labs, and no one can figure out why your problem is going on. So I think, yep, for me, that was the best, because it was my own mother. So seeing her heal and go from so much suffering through mostly my high school and through later years, and go through cycles of suffering to no longer really having almost any suffering, except for maybe getting sick once or twice a year, was just one of the most rewarding things for me. I think I was even subconsciously learning so much material to help her that I didn't even realize it. I was just doing it because I like loved it, and I didn't really even realize why I was doing it. But I think being able to get into clinical practice and actually make a difference, treat her on a regular basis, and see her just heal on a massive scale was probably the best outcome I could have had in clinical work so far.
That's beautiful. And that's your mum. And then,
Yeah.
you know, and it's heavy being someone who suffered the same. Only you know how and what you go through on a day-to-day basis, because it's considered the invisible illnesses. So there's also Lyme disease. I try not to kind of own any dis-ease, psychologically, and a lot of reading that I've done. I go through my real peaks and troughs. Like sometimes I can really crash and just feel there's a real imbalance, and I just don't want to do any of this public work. And it's so difficult because it's up and down. It's been such an up and down journey. But again, once you make the commitment to heal and accept and be gentle on your soul, you'll find the way. And healing Lyme's disease, fibromyalgia, there's always someone that has advice about something. You know, there's always someone that do this. My mum had this, my dad had this, and sometimes that can get overwhelming in itself. And actually, before, when I didn't really know what was going on, and I didn't actually understand what was happening, I went through a huge bout of enormous depression, and I didn't even know that that's what was going on until very recently. And when I've kind of reflected positively back on my journey with what an invisible illness and these sort of conditions can do to your mental health, because it's like you don't look sick, and I'm someone who will never sort of go out looking sick. You know, I'll always put my best foot forward. And having that lack of understanding from your friends, from your loved ones, is such a psychologically damaging thing. And your mum must have gone through all of that, and having you help her heal. What is it and how? Share some of that, because I have many people. I mean, I'm doing quite a lot of stuff with herbs, exercise, and then a mental commitment to thinking my way to health. So it's not just one thing, and really eliminating fear. Really eliminating fear, because I went through can't eat this, can't do that, must do this, and I was quite rigid, and I wasn't getting better. It wasn't helping me. And I was like that until quite recently, until about a year ago. But now, you know, you got to find what fits and what shoe fits you. And yeah, what helped your mum, and how did you sort of humor her way to health?
I think some of it was, lightening it up with humor, because she was stuck in a very much like a repressed anger type of state. Sort of like Woody Allen has a quote, "Whatever I don't express, I repress, and then I grow a tumor." So she was like a cyst grower. When she would be stressed, she would repress it, not express it, and then she would grow a cyst or a bump or a tumor or a gallstone or whatever it was. And so for her, it was using humor and love to break through that repressed anger. She didn't have as much fear, which is kind of strange. Most people have more anxiety. For her, it was just pure anger. So it actually went faster. When it is fear, it can take a while to help your nervous system feel calm, safe, secure. And so you actually have to get someone's home environment to actually be calm, safe, secure first. Because if they're in trouble with a spouse or domestic violence type of issue, then that can, it's very hard to heal when someone's in a fight or flight state at home. So I feel like getting their home environment safe, getting them safe sleeping, getting them feeling safe and out of the fear state is almost the first step I take with anybody. But then after regulating the nervous system, that's really the key. It's like you regulate someone's nervous system and then their mind, body, mental state. So for her, it was a lot of repressed anger, and that was causing most of her issues, and just old trapped stress. And then there were some dietary reactions. There was herbs to rebuild some of the deficiencies in her immune system. But the mental thought process is huge, and the victim mentality was somewhat present as well. So there was definitely some fear. There was some victim mentality, but for her, the big one was anger. But fear, anger, victim mentality are crucial. And then just positive thinking overall. Some people are really stuck in, they have ants in their head, the automatic negative thoughts or ants. They're really in this loop of just negativity all day. If they really start to own the fact that their thought process can help them heal. If placebo can heal and nocebo can harm, then your thoughts can definitely heal you. So just having, learning about Bruce Lipton's book, The Biology of Belief, doing more affirmation work, reading Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Own Body, all of those type of works, reading Masaru Emoto's book, The Hidden Messages in Water, seeing the power of words and energy and frequency. It's not some woo-woo concept. It's proven evidence-based research, science. And so many people are not really told that their thoughts are powerful and that they, words are spells, because that's where spelling comes from. So it's like, if you're going to spell a spell, you have to be careful what you're saying. And everybody knows that if they tell their child that they're an a-hole and such a dumbo and like they're never going to accomplish anything, that could ruin that person's life for the rest of their life. They could hold on to that and remember that and resent you for that forever, even if you're just down in one moment. That one moment of indiscretion could ruin someone's life. And in the same aspect, one moment of someone telling you, hey, look up away from your phone, or hey, you're super beautiful, I love your soul, you're super connected and tapped in, and you are going to do something great in this world, that will also do the exact opposite for somebody. So we have to remember how important is to tell people the beauty of their own souls. And that's really what I did for my mom. I showed her the beauty of her own soul. I gave her the permission to heal and to let go. And that letting go process is crucial as well. We could spend hours talking about letting go, but it's
I think this would be it's just a really important subject generically and from a soul plane for me, because trying to get to the root of what was going on with me. Anger is definitely one of the emotions connected to these autoimmune conditions in my kind of reading and research. And then I developed a sense of apathy towards it all, because it's nothing's working, and the frustration and the anger, then coupled with that, being misunderstood by family and friends. So, and it all adds into the bank of the feeling sad, feeling worthless, feeling angry itself, because you can't make plans. You have to cancel plans last minute, and then you're not getting any kind of empathy from the people that you have to cancel plans on. You're like, I'm not doing it on purpose. I genuinely don't feel well. But because these are conditions which are not physically obvious, fatigue is not physically obvious. You can just slap on a bit of makeup for a woman and just be like, go out and put on your best kind of armor. And that's what I used to do. But in fact, it made me worse, because then when you try and connect with people to say, hey, I'm feeling, oh, that's nothing wrong with you, it's in your head. And for like 10 to 12 years of that, sometimes you think, wow, the medical fraternity has really robbed us of our sanity in so many ways psychologically. And I feel so sorry for people that go through this, that don't have that impetus to, or the motivation or the strength to go and look and read and just trust blindly to doctors who don't quite frankly, care. Yeah. So it's very hard. It's very hard. And we have this kind of expectations from the medical fraternity where they're doing such loving things and they're just doctors and they're just great. And, you know, my doctor's surgery here in the UK, I say this with the utmost respect, but to get to any kind of what's the word I'm looking for? This is what happens with the brain fog. To get any conclusion about what was going on with me, you know, it took a good 7 years. So, and it was just all about palming off pills. For every ill, there is a pill. Luckily, though, I didn't do that. So I really am appreciative of that, because letting go and the psychological things we can do is so, so important. So what healing modalities did you use for your mum? Because she's had Lyme's disease, she had like fibromyalgia. Where did you sort of begin, as well as the psychological stuff?
So with most people, I do a combination of things. I was doing some acupuncture for stress reduction. I was doing a nervous system balance. I was doing applied kinesiology, which is a muscle testing biofeedback system. I was using nutrition and herbal medicine, and just some diet and lifestyle change, and then a little bit of counseling. It's fairly straightforward. And, you know, for her too, the sense of other people not understanding was really big, as it is with most chronic illness, especially the invisible ones. And I'm sure at any point we all can say, like, we've had a friend where they're just like a little bit down or a little bit tired or a little bit off, and we sort of try to like toxic positivity them and be like, it's okay, you can get through this, like, because it is helpful sometimes to push through and to have that encouragement. But we do need to sort of go back and just ask ourselves, has there been any time when I've sort of like, someone hasn't been able to join for dinner, or they haven't been feeling well, or they were feeling anxious or depressed, or they weren't, maybe they canceled because they were having a panic attack, but they didn't feel comfortable enough, or they were having a migraine and they just told me it was a little headache because they weren't feeling secure enough in our relationship to actually tell me that it was a migraine, or that they were having hemorrhoids or whatever else uncomfortable diarrhea could have been going on. So I think we have to realize sometimes people are changing plans, being flaky, canceling stuff, or unable to complete tasks or their commitments, not because they don't like you, they don't mean well, they're bad workers, but they're just physically or mentally unwell. And those invisible illnesses are crucial, and if we're going to actually grow as a culture, because the vast majority of what we're sick with right now is chronic illness. Half of children right now have a chronic condition, and the vast majority of them, you can't hear it, you can't see it, it's invisible. So whether that's a gut issue, whether that's an immune system issue, whether that's a mental health issue, whether that's the rising cases of autism and ADD and dyslexia, depression, anxiety, we have to start to trust other people and just believe them that they are good people. Because at the end of the day, some people are liars, some people are bad, but most people mean well.
Yeah.
And I understand that employers having a hard time figuring out whether people are being truthful or not, or whether they really are having a migraine or not, or are having a panic attack or not, because there are a number of people who do use their illness to their benefit, to get out of doing things they don't want to do. Or I used to do it as a kid. I'd be like, oh, I can't go to school, I got pink eye, but I just put some soap in my eye to make my eye pink. So, we all do that a little bit, most of us from time to time. So I think it's like having compassion for others is the main thing, and just trusting, taking them for their word. And then if they can't come to work, you have that honest, compassionate, curious conversation to say like, hey, why? Or if they can't come to your family get together, it's like, what's going on? How can I maybe help you make this commitment? Or how are you not feeling well? And you really just have to have that conversation with people and be a little bit more curious and compassionate, which would solve most of those issues.
100%. It's ironic you say this, because just actually last week is exactly the same sort of situation I found myself in. I'm actually revealing this for the first time and being vulnerable, but I had a lump found in my left breast, and I had a biopsy last week, and the week, on the Tuesday, and on Wednesday I had surgery. And I'm still not kind of comfortable speaking about this publicly, but I am, because I have to. There's a real great burgeoning kind of need. I want to help people too, but because I feel very inconsistent in myself. One day I'm tired, one day I'm this, and I'm on this healing journey like every day affirm, I am healing, I'm strong, I'm worth all those positive things. And it really does work. But because I'd come out of surgery and I'd really been looking forward to seeing this friend, and she was looking forward to seeing me, and she spent a few hours cooking. Unfortunately, a half an hour before, I had some of the things that you just mentioned. And right. And excuse me, ladies and gents, I get quite embarrassed when I say these things, but no, I don't actually. And I had to cancel, and I just said, hey, I'm feeling nauseous, and I'm so sorry. This has just been a really heavy week, and I was trying to be brave to come, but I really felt crappy not being able to come. And without going into the details, it ended the friendship.
Wow, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it spiraled out into an absolute, oh my God, like you can't actually understand that there was a genuine reason. Like, okay, I know I spent this long cooking for you. And to this day, and it's okay. We're going through some crazy times at the moment, and people are on some sort of, different paths and different mindsets, and we're seeing it. And as an observer, I'm trying not to judge all of this, because you see, we have to always encourage self-power and taking our power back. And that's the thing that I've realized the most, which always gets me through any sort of adversity, is taking my power back, never outsourcing your power, but learning. And this is why there was this, keen interest to want to just speak to you, because there's that energy, and energy doesn't lie. And you can really feel somebody's energy through their work, through their mission, through their passion. And over the last 2 years, it's like, oh my God, how did I land myself here? Crap, I'm not going to be able to do it. So it's so important, this to have that understanding. With sort of the herbal side or the supplement side, what did you kind of put your mum on to get to a place where she is now?
Well, I honestly don't really recall, because it was like 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
But I know there was liver detox support. I know there was some immune support and probiotic support, some different oregano oil and things like that to help clear out some yeast infections, because she had major overgrowth of candida and things like that. But yeah, I can't remember the specifics at this point.
Yeah, no, but the oil of oregano, or as we say here in the UK, oregano. My fiance always
really, you say oregano?
Oregano.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, so it's the Brit way of saying it. But my fiance would say to me, he's like, oregano. I'm like, what are you talking about? It sounds like something weird. Is this getting used to the US terminology? But you mentioned about, the rise in chronic illness with children. And this is something that's a cause close to my heart, because we've just launched our autism support range, where we do, we've made some topicals where children can put it on their feet and through their navel. So it's kind of applying it through the navel, through the feet. And it's a detox for 12 days, which helps to clear the brain of heavy metal toxins and what have you. And then there's an autism support with a mixture of different herbs. And we teamed up with a very gracious couple who have been helping for this cause for many, many years. And of course, what we know with what children now are being forced to do with it is quite scary. But autism and the link to autism, and not just the injections, there's so many other causes, chemicals that we are subjected to. Many causes. Things. It's pretty scary, right? And do you get a lot of children coming in?
We get a large number of children coming in who we are often able to help. If the earlier you can start helping someone, usually the better. But yeah, there are so many reasons why it's happening. It typically starts in the womb. So a lot of people think like the kid was perfectly fine. They had some infection or some injection or something happened, and then like the next day they're off. Or it's just like we woke up one day and something bad happened, because but there's sort of a lack of education about that, how that process happens. And generally the process starts while the brain is fully growing in the womb. It goes through so much growth in the womb that's usually when something like autism starts to develop. And it's because certain parts of the brain overgrow and certain parts undergrow. And that can happen from major stress or trauma. That can happen from even just like excessive white noise that the mother is around. They found women in apartments that are closer to highways with more white noise traffic while they're sleeping are more likely to even have like just a slightly higher risk, or if they're surrounded by a lot of white noise all the time from technology or even like fans and refrigerators, things like that can be a little bit not helpful. So you really need that like deep quiet at night or just at some point during your day. But they found that a lot of it is inflammatory chemical irritants to the brain and the baby's brain while in the womb. And then what happens is the baby comes out, they're doing generally okay, but their gut flora and often their brain are in an inflamed state. They tend to not be able to detoxify as well. And so as they accumulate toxins or as their gut gets irritated by the foods that are often in the modern world that are not healthy, or as they get infections or injections, those infections and injections are known to create an immune inflammatory response. They were designed to do that. That's how the body reacts to them. And so the brain can then go from a slight imbalance to like a more inflamed state. So it's like the kindling was there, the tendency to maybe have more inflammation was already there. There was like a low level of heat, flame, inflammation, and it just takes off from some thing. But it can also happen just what's called like regressive autism. There are moments through a child's normal development where they will regress a little bit. They'll forget certain words. They'll forget how to use their hand or their foot. They'll forget maybe how to even walk for a couple days or weeks. So there are moments where the brain kind of like trims its bushes or like prunes and shears some of the excess growth. And there are normal stages of development where children will sort of regress. And so sometimes people make a correlation where like, well, the kid was growing at a certain rate and then they got an injection at like the 2-year mark, but that's also when there's a natural regression period. So they correlate, they think like, well, the injection caused the regression and they were regressed for like a month and then they got better, but that could just be the natural regression period. So it is a little bit more complicated, but that said, there are so many times where I see kids on the spectrum where they are in a more inflamed brain state, and we can lab test for that and for their gut being inflamed and pick that up on real hard medical data and then say like, this doesn't really make a lot of sense if they have an autoimmune process going on for them to get more autoimmune irritations through injections or other sorts of irritants to their system. So we just limit as many of those brain inflammatory processes as we possibly can. Sometimes parents choose to go through doing injections for those kids because it might be in their best interest, because they're in a country or a place where those infections are deadly. Like if there was an injection for Ebola and Ebola is extremely deadly, then you would probably want that injection. If the germ that was going around the last 2 years was actually 10 to 15% deadly, as we were first told, then you might actually want that injection. So for like the elderly, it can be 10% deadly for the extreme elderly population. But for children, it's actually better than the flu. Like more in the US, more children died of the flu in 2019 than from the germ in 2020. So we have to use some common sense and just look at the big picture perspective, because no medicine is a one-size-fits-all approach. And we have to say this is more safe for some people and less safe for other people.
Yeah, I mean, this was a big agenda that was going on, and I think it was infused through fear-mongering and the rest. So it's interesting that a lot of people are beginning to realize this. But just going on back to birth and how it starts in the womb for autism, what about premature birth and the correlation to autism? Because the reason why I ask is that there is a few members in my family that I observed from birth that there could be very high functioning. It's the high functioning one, which is kind of like, yeah, they're okay.
Like Asperger's or something, yeah.
Asperger's, yeah, or Asperger's. And I became very committed to learning as much as I could about Asperger's because of my nephew. And I started noticing all the kind of oddities from a young age, the lack of varied interests, a fixation on one subject, repetitive behavior, a lot of flapping, the walking on the toes, lack of eye contact, quite a stiff body, very strong and sturdy, but stiff. Their kind of pressure is really, like they hit you, it's really hard and strong, sorry. And it's not one shoe fits all, because everyone's different and you can't pigeonhole any autistic person into one box. There's variables. So is there a big correlation in your view with premature birth?
Definitely, yeah. Especially the more premature, the harder it is for a child's nervous system.
Yeah.
So Chinese medicine used to say they would have kidney qi deficiency, which goes with the brain and the spinal cord and the bones. So a lot of times there's more scoliosis or nervous system brain type of diseases or issues. They just don't go through full development. If they're very premature, they can have lung or other types of heart or other, various conditions. And that sometimes it's hard because the premature birth is because there was already an underlying issue for the mother or the child, or there could be a premature birth because, the doctors decided they needed to go on a vacation, so they schedule it a month early. And that's not as medically, ethically nice, but that I've heard stories of that happening on a regular basis. So I think we really have to just try to educate people as much as possible. And that is definitely one of the risk factors for any type of nervous system issue.
Definitely. Now, I have a friend who, when I told her that as we're drawing to an end, who said, "Oh my God, I love him. He's great. He really helps me." And, it's just nice to get that. Yeah, it's nice to get that feedback. And she asked, she's asked, okay, there's about 100 questions. We're not going to be able to go through all of them. Can you ask them this? Can you ask them this? All right. What's one? Right. This is nice. What do you do to protect your immune system? That's what she's asking.
So I think the best thing, since about 80% of your immune system is in your gut, it's going to be good food. So eating regularly good, high quality food, whatever that means for you, and getting sleep, hydrating, and not being too stressed out. So going for those meditation walks and looking up and around. But it's really dealing with stress. I get treated, I get adjusted and do acupuncture or some sort of energy work on a weekly basis myself, because I'm such a firm believer in it for my patients that I do it myself, because I just feel better when I'm getting regular treatments. So I think regular healing treatment, not going to see a doctor to just tell you what to do, but someone actually lays their hands on you and you leave healthier than you came in, whether that's a colonic or acupuncture, chiropractic, energy work, Reiki, anything, just to really balance your system and help your nervous system relax, is extremely helpful. So that's practically what I do, but I think eating is huge. Sleep is big. Oftentimes if I'm not sleeping, I'll get a little bit sick. So for me, that's when I notice it's almost always I'm either not sleeping enough, or if I somehow, for whatever reason, decide to self-sabotage myself with some fast food, I'll almost always get a cold the next day.
Especially when you're eating really, really well. This is the thing. When I was going through, I'm going to eat very militant with my diet, cut out gluten, cut out dairy. And I found it really difficult to, and no dairy, no eggs, nothing. And I'm a vegetarian, so I don't eat meat either. So my body started really craving eggs recently. And it was interesting because I went through this kind of really bad allergic reaction. I don't know what to, we're still investigating. But after that happened and I ended up in hospital and my face looked like an elephant, it's definitely a sight. And it looked like that, what's his name from the Goonies? It was like my face had inflamed. It wasn't a nice situation. And then after that happened, that's when I said, I'm not doing this, or this, maybe I ate something by mistake or whatever. So I completely deprived myself of certain foods. I think the key to having it 80%, healthy. And for me, 20%, if I have a little bit of toast or a tiny bit of gluten, I'm finding that, I'm having L-lysine in the morning, which really helps me on many things. And the game changer for me has been this product by a company called Roots. Oh, hello.
It's the dog kind of came to say hi.
Yeah.
Yep, Albus Dumbledore.
Albus.
Oh, you like Root? Has that been helpful?
Amazing. Root has been the game changer for me as the kickstart because of the zeolite that they have called Clean Slate. So I take that religion. My mum has found it really big. She suffered from thyroid as well. So I suspect a lot of the things that I have had has been kind of passed down from me. I was premature as well. And for the brain fog, like it happened a little bit in this conversation, I can get a bit brain foggy sometimes if I haven't eaten properly, but I take the zero in tablets. They're called I think they're like the limitless pills. They're made from curcumin, and it's a major ingredient in all our foods, Indian food. But the way that they had made it, this lady, Dr. Christina, who went through a whole host of issues. She had Lyme's disease, fibromyalgia, and everything. So I'm a huge fan and advocate for that brand. So the 3 things I take is that, and then of course there's other things that I do, but definitely sleep is very important. If I don't sleep, I'm just like, just don't know what I'm saying half the time. But there is a lot of questions that I would love to ask, but I know you have got other things going on, and we have approached our hour. So I'm so humbled and grateful for you to come on, even though we didn't get to do it last year. This was the time we were supposed to. So thank you so much for everything that you're doing, all the information that you are imparting with the public through your social media channels. You never know who you're helping. Even if you're helping one person, it is always, I always thank God, when people come to you and say, thank you for doing that. That's the greatest gift you can, impart to humanity. So on a parting note, please, do you have a few words?
I would just tell people it's the most loving, morbid way I like to end, which is you will die at some point. And to me, the meaning of life is the balance of love and time, because you only have so much time left. So just balance the time you have with what you love and the people you love the most.
Yeah, I'm definitely, love is the highest currency, and love in action show. So on that note, everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you've watched up to here, I'm truly, truly grateful to you. And Albus, thank you for making a cameo appearance.
Thanks.
Kenzo, do you want to do the same? No, it's like, get lost. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Lots of love.